Okay.
So we know that Hollywood, Oscars, red carpet, they go hand in hand, but why?
Right.
Let's take a look at our choices. So
Okay.
we have A, because red is linked with romantic ideas.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe when you link A with or link A to B, this phrase just means to put two things together or to relate it to each other. So it means that A is related to B. When you think of A, you think of B. For example, we can say we usually link Valentine's Day with chocolates.
Yes, that's right. Okay, well, we also saw that we linked the red carpet with romantic ideas. This adjective romantic is related to love and romance. Now, this is why we often see the color red around Valentine's Day as well, because it's related to love. Now, we often see red flowers, red chocolate boxes, and other red gifts in February. Here's an example using the word romantic. Many people think Paris, France, is a romantic city. Some even call it the city of love. That's answer A. What's answer B?
Well, we have B. It says because red dye was once the most valuable.
Okay.
So this thing was not very cheap. So this was very expensive at that time. Now, dye is just something we use to change the color of something else, like
Oh, like my
cloth,
hair.
like your hair, or even food sometimes. So
okay.
if you want blue clothes, then we use blue dye to change the color of the fabric.
Okay.
Or food dye. Okay, it's not normal that we have, blue or purple food sometimes.
Right.
So, for example, if you want to have different colored cakes, we use food dye to change the cakes into different colors.
Those rainbow cakes are really cool and they're safe to eat.
Luckily.
Okay, so let's continue on. Let's look at answer C now. C says, because shadows look dramatic on shades of red. Okay, now let's explain what the word dramatic is here. Something that's dramatic is often surprising or sudden or easy to notice for some reason. So here we're saying that a person's shadow would be very easy to notice on the red carpet. This might make a person stand out more in a way that's special. Now, that's true. If you look at the shadows on the red carpet, they are very easy to see.
And I think it's more like when it's in Hollywood, you want people to stand out.
Right.
So I think that's cool.
Okay, well, here's an example sentence using that word dramatic. I noticed a dramatic change in Harriet's mood yesterday. She was really happy in the morning and then really angry after lunch.
All right, so we have a few choices that we saw here.
Right.
We saw that A, maybe because red was linked with romantic ideas.
Right.
Maybe because B, red dye was once most valuable, meaning it was very expensive. Or C, because shadows look dramatic on the shades of red on the red carpet.
Okay, three very good choices.
I'm not sure which one it is. I would probably think maybe like A or C or something. Maybe the C because it's Hollywood, you know, you want things to stand out. So maybe for me, I would pick C. What about you?
I would probably pick C too, but are we right?
Oh, okay, let's take a look at our answer then. The article says, congratulations if you guessed B.
Oh,
you were so close.
So
We were close.
All right, well, let's find out why. Here in the article, it says, in the past, the color red was highly valued as the dye was the most expensive to make. Okay, if you listened closely to that sentence, you would have noticed that we used the word as again. Here, we're using the word as in a different way. In this sentence, as is another way of saying because, or for saying why something is true. So we could also say, in the past, the color red was highly valued because red dye was the most expensive to make. We just replaced the word as with because. Here's another example. As Kenny is going to be late today, we'll wait until he gets here to start the meeting. We asked the hotel for our money back as our room was really dirty. That's two different ways we can use the word as to mean because. Okay, so we made these carpet's red because the red dye was really expensive.
Right, and let's find out why. It says, thus, it was associated with those of high status.
That makes sense.
Right, because, you know, if it's expensive, it means that people who have a lot of money can afford it. So that's why these two go hand in hand. Now, we saw another phrase here, associate A with B. This is very similar to the one we saw before, link A with B or link A to B. It just means you connect two things together in your mind. For example, in this sentence, we cannot actually prove that red dye means a high status, but because we associate this expensive dye with Hollywood and all things glamorous, we kind of put these two things together in our minds.
Right.
For example, we can say people like to associate popcorn with going to the movies.
And if you listen to some previous fun facts, you'll hear all about that. All right, well, I think of it in the way as kings and queens probably used to wear a lot of red, and so maybe that's why
it's
kind
royal,
of
perhaps?
associated together. But we also learned about status in that sentence, which is really important. This noun, status, is someone's position in society or in their job. Now, status is often used to compare people, which means someone of high status would be considered rich or important, and someone of low status would be poor or unimportant. Here's another example sentence. In this company, men and women have equal status, so they are treated the same.
Oh, yay, good company. I like this.
Hopefully paid the same too.
I know. Good job. All right, so next in the article it says, it's believed the first mention of a crimson path was in the Greek play Agamemnon.
Agamemnon.
Agamemnon. Oh my God, this one's hard. It's a tongue twister for me. In 458 BC. All right, so they say that a long time ago that in this Greek play, they mentioned about this, or they talked about this crimson, which is red, this red path. Now, when you mention something, it means you talk about it, or you write about it, or you refer to it really briefly.
Right.
So if you watch the Oscars and we hear maybe actors and actresses give their speech, they might mention or give mention to some people. Now, they don't go into a long, speech about who they are and stuff. They try to cut it down, but they try to mention them, thank them, and then they just kind of, give them credit for it.
Right.
For example, we can say we try to avoid making mention of Andrew's ex-girlfriend
Right.
because he's really sad about that.
Yeah, maybe he'll get upset if he hears it. Okay, so we made mention, or this Greek play made mention of a crimson path. This word crimson is an adjective, and it's a deep shade of red. Now, if you think of a dark red lipstick, it will probably be crimson or something close to that. There are actually a lot of these words for colors that you might look at it and just say, oh, it's red, but someone else might be, oh, it's crimson, or it's rose, or it's
Dark red wine or something.
Magenta or something like that. So there are a lot of these words out there. Crimson is one of those words for red.
All right, so let's continue reading. It says, in this play, a red path is laid out for a king who has just returned home from war.
There we go, kings.
Now, we saw the phrase, lay something out. This phrase means to place something and let it spread out on a flat surface. For example, we can say, the students lay the poster out on the table. Okay, so maybe they're doing a project and they need a flat surface to work on the poster. Or we can say, the fashion designer laid the cloth out. So it means to put something out on a flat surface so you can see it all.
Okay, so way back in 458 BC, someone didn't want their king to walk on the dirty ground. They just laid out some red on the ground.
Royal red color.
Right. Okay, well, let's skip a few hundred years ahead now to the 19th century. Here in the article it says, later, this kind of carpet was rolled out for U.S. President James Madison in 1821 in Georgetown, South Carolina, U.S. Okay, so James Madison, he was the fourth president of the U.S., but one thing that's interesting is that he wasn't the country's president when they rolled out the red carpet for him in 1821.
Oh, okay.
His last year as president was 1817, so he was a former U.S. president when he walked on the red carpet. He was still very important, just not the president anymore.
I guess he was just really respected as well, so that's why people felt like, you know,
he was important enough for this
Exactly.
red carpet.
He got the red carpet treatment, we could say. All right, so next, let's continue reading. It says, an American railroad company also used red carpets in the 20th century, rolling them out for its express trains passengers. So this was also a big deal back then because it was not very, it's not cheap to travel by train, and especially if you wanted to travel in a nice carriage, you would need to pay a lot of money for that. So
And think about that. Back then, express train does not mean what it means today.
Oh, yeah.
An express train would be faster. And just like our express trains today, if you're going to take the express one, you're probably going to pay more money. Okay, so let's find out what happened after that. Now we're moving forward even more. It says, decades later, this red carpet treatment reached Hollywood. There's that phrase again. When you get the red carpet treatment, you're treated well because you have a high status. That's why you see it for presidents, movie stars, express train passengers from the first
kings
class.
and queens,
Yeah.
the royal family, anything that's nice and, you know.
Right.
All right, so let's continue reading. It says the first red carpet rolled out for film stars appeared in 1961 at the Academy Awards. So the first time that this happened in Hollywood, it was actually in the Oscars in 1961. So that's really cool.
Okay, so it's been happening for a few years now. And then it goes on to say, before long, red carpets were a major part of Hollywood award ceremonies. Now, we used a phrase here, before long. This phrase is another way of saying soon or in a short time. Now, what we're saying in this sentence is that it didn't take long after this 1961 Oscars ceremony for the red carpet to be seen everywhere in Hollywood. So once one movie star wants it, all the movie star wants it.
Yeah, I would want it too.
Yeah, me too.
That would be nice. All right, so we saw another word here. We saw the word major. Major is an adjective, and it just means something that is very important. For example, we can say Shakespeare is one of the major figures of the modern English language.
That's
that
right.
means he was very important for English. So all the English that we're learning now and that we're speaking today was thanks to Shakespeare. Or we can also say the scientists had a major breakthrough with their research, and this just means that the scientists had a very important discovery.
Right.
So,
Okay.
that's cool.
Well, we learned something new today, Tiffany. Hopefully you guys did too, but that's all the time we've got for our article. So we're going to go to our For You chat now. Stay tuned.